Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1953 Morris Minor Series 2 Traveller. Now this is a estate version of the Morris Minor Series 2, and it was produced between 1952 and 1956, and the Morris Minor Series 2 in total sold nearly 270,000 during that 4-year lifespan, which is an incredible amount of cars for such a short run. And yeah, this version features an external structural ash wood frame for the rear bodywork with two side hinged doors, making it really rather convenient at the back. There's a huge amount of room in there for a car that is generally not all that much bigger than the standard saloon version. So yeah, really rather practical, and that is despite the fact that it is only having two doors at the front. So yeah, you still have to pull the front seats forward to get in the back, but nonetheless there is still loads of room in there for rear passengers and the front passenger. And yeah, this is a little bit worse than the Minor 1000 that we've already reviewed on this game before, which came out not long, immediately after this car finished its run. And yeah, that Minor 1000 had two big advantages over this car: a much better engine and a much better gearbox as well. The engine on this is really rather not good, to be honest. It's only an 803cc inline 4 engine producing 29 horsepower and 40 pounds-feet of torque, whereas the Minor 1000 had a 948cc engine producing 37 horsepower and 48 pounds-feet of torque. So yeah, not as good in terms of power and not as good in terms of gearbox either. Yes, they share the same 4-speed manual, but the ratios in the Minor 1000 are taller, so there's less gearing to do through the lower speeds, whereas in this you're in second even before you hit 20, and then you're in third before you even hit 30. So yeah, it's the gearbox really does not make this the smoothest kind of vehicle to drive, whereas the Minor 1000, because it had that extra power, needed taller ratios so it could make the most of that extra power, and because it was in the age of the motorway, it needed the taller ratios to make it smoother to drive. Whereas this, granted, wasn't in the age of the motorway, wouldn't unlikely to be driven more than 50 or 60 mile an hour on any roads really. It would have been pretty much a town car or a village car. It's not something that's going to be doing high speeds, but nonetheless it would have been more advantageous to have that bit of extra power, especially in a vehicle that's going to be dealing with heavy loads, since it's got the room for quite a lot of stuff to go in the back. So yeah, I would have preferred a Morris that is as good as a Minor 1000, if not better, because there's plenty to choose from. Even the awful kinds like the Morris Marina I would have liked to have had, because that is at least something notable, because it was so bad, and we don't truly have a bad car on this game. And even though this is really rather slow and really rather underpowered compared to the Minor 1000, it's nowhere near a bad car, and it is quite an iconic car as well. So yeah, let's get out onto the open road and see what it can do. Now, despite the fact that this does weigh actually 7 pounds less than the Minor 1000 due to that smaller engine at 1,757 pounds, that lack of weight is really minor compared to the additional power that Minor 1000 has. So yeah, the fact this weighs a little bit less really makes no difference whatsoever, which is really summed up by the 0 to 60 time of 52.5 seconds, whereas the Minor 1000 could do 0 to 60 in 31.325 seconds. So it's 30 seconds slower than the Minor 1000, and this can only do 62 miles an hour, whereas that Minor 1000 could do 79 miles an hour. So yeah, this car is significantly slower than that Minor 1000, and yeah, I don't really see the point of having this version of the Traveller on this game, because the Minor 1000 had a Traveller variant with that engine in it, so it would have been preferable to have this version of the car with that 948cc engine. But then again, I guess people would say, oh, it's just the same car but with a different body. But this car was really popular at the time and really rather iconic on British roads, so I really wouldn't have minded if it was just a different bodies version of the Minor 1000, because then at least it would have been a decently quick car for a vehicle with less than 50 horsepower, but it's just not. And yeah, those small gear ratios really do hinder any enjoyment with it, because you're pretty much constantly changing gear before you even get to 50 mile an hour, and that just doesn't make it all that smooth to drive. But I'm not going to complain too much, because this is an icon of British roads back in the day even, and yeah, I want more iconic vehicles from British roads on this game. I just wish they were the kind that, you know, had some performance. I'm not asking for much, because I actually do like driving the Minor 1000. That 8 extra horsepower and 8 extra pound-feet of torque really does make the difference. So I guess I could upgrade this car to that kind of horsepower level, but at the end of the day, I would have just preferred, you know, the more powerful version of this car that came a few years later. But nonetheless, you know, still an interesting vehicle to have on the game, and yeah, certainly you know, an icon of British roads, which, you know, is something at least, even if it is pretty useless vehicle in terms of performance. But nonetheless, it was a practical car, and yeah, that's pretty much all people needed really back then. They didn't really need creature comforts or speed, as long as it was practical and got you away from A to B. That's all that really mattered. But yeah, when you're on a racing game, could do with that little bit of extra performance. But I imagine this car will be fun to drive when fully upgraded with extra engines and upgrades like that. So yeah, I look forward to doing that at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.